Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the third episode of Create This Book. In today's episode, we're going to do 3 prompts as they were a little more time consuming, but I hope you don't mind. I will link the playlist with all episodes thus far in the description, but without further ado, let's get started. First up, create a page of polka dots. Put polka dots on this page. So I tried to think a little bit outside of the box here, so I settled on painting some oranges on the vines in acrylic. For some reason I thought it would be a good idea, but it turned out to be rather difficult, so I really had to trust the process for this one. Acrylic paint is really translucent, maybe due to my impatience in mixing the colors without white, but regardless, I did not have a good time with the shading. At some point it just looks like a couple of green and orange paint blobs, so needless to say, fixing it felt a little impossible. Out of desperation, I even busted out the trusty Micron fineliner to add some sort of texture to the painting. However, it wasn't really successful. I think my last straw was the shine of the paper after drying. I even covered the page in a coat of Mod Podge, which has a matte finish, allegedly. However, that only smudged the white pen I had used to sign the pages with. So, after letting it sit with me for a couple of days, I decided to rework the piece with gouache. It's the only medium that could paint over acrylic, as it's like right in between watercolor and acrylic. It's water-soluble like watercolor, but has that thicker texture and high coverage like acrylic usually does. So I introduced some more values to the painting and fixed the background by using a more even coat of paint, alongside some more similar tones. I also defined the leaves in the foreground so they don't merge with the background anymore. And I can honestly say I much prefer this outcome to how it looked beforehand. The process was trusted and it did not disappoint. Moving on, the next page I'll do is not the next page, but the one that precedes it. As you can see, some of the acrylic bled through to the page in the middle, and since I'll be working with mixed media for this page, I will just worry about fixing the bleed from both sides afterwards. This page says, create an array of media. Draw one object over and over using a different medium each time. One drawing with markers, one with pen, one with pencil, etc. I tweaked the rules just a little because it says draw one object over and over, but to me, flowers and the green leafy bits can just be put into one category. Sue me, you won't. I wanted to ensure that each medium has enough space and layers properly, so I built them up by transparency, starting with a layer of diluted gouache for the background. Then I used a thicker and darker tone to paint in the little leaves, also with gouache. I then followed up with watercolor for the yellow pom-poms. My favorite out of the bunch were definitely the alcohol markers, which I used for the yellow clusters here. I was surprised how well the shading went. I knew that they blended well, but I also totally expected them to eat the paper, like the water mediums usually do. So I was pleasantly surprised to find out that they don't. Thumbs up here. Next up, I used the water-based markers for the pink flowers, which did almost snag the paper. Damn, you water mediums. I then colored the roses with my colored pencils, followed by the sunflowers in acrylic. Lastly, I outlined the round leaves with my micron fineliner, which concluded the prompt, technically. So, as you can see, there are some gaps within the bouquet, which I filled with gouache mostly. Me and gouache really became best friends in this episode. As you may or may not have noticed, I not only layered the mediums by translucency, but also by how easy it is to cover large areas, amount of bleed through, and tearing the paper. So watercolor, for example, I only used for the little pom-poms in a thicker layer, so I wouldn't have to use a lot of water. Or the colored pencils I only used for the roses, since covering a large area is quite annoying with them. They're just better for those itty-bitty details, thus I chose them for the roses. Overall though, I'm very pleased with the look of the bouquet. I like that it has different textures and that you can see all the different media I used in it. I didn't have to do any touch-ups off camera, so it was really smooth sailing with this one. Moving on to the last page that we're going to do for the day. As you can see, this page is in between those two that I just did. There's a huge spot of bleed through here and a couple smaller ones all around that need to be covered. The prompt says, create a recorded conversation. Sit in a room with other people, write down everything you hear. My scenario isn't necessarily between two people, but rather between my cat and I. Happens just about every night. Let me explain. My cat is an outside cat, and more often than not, when I'm just about to doze off, bro jumps on the balcony and has this very distinct sound to it, which always makes me wake back up. So the scenario goes a little like this. So he jumps on the balcony, and the sound goes a little like, and I get startled and sit up. He goes like, brr, and I go, Charlie? And then I just let him in. As for the coloring of the page, I used my Ohuhu alcohol markers again. which was a breeze and made this page super quick. I wanted the panels to look like a comic, which I also wanted to reflect in the background. So I firstly meticulously created this dot pattern alternating between blue and orange for that comic/pop art feel. But when it came to gluing in the panels though, I didn't like it as much anymore. So I used some Payne's Gray acrylic, the big mistake they call it, and covered the page with that instead. Unfortunately, the texture of the dots remained, and it just looked messy and shiny from then on. Do not recommend. But with that being said, we concluded all of the prompts that I had planned for this week. So now onto the flip through. The page of Polka Dots. After I've done the gouache service last, I actually quite enjoy this page. I would give it maybe like a 6 out of 10 because of the whole struggle that I had with this page, but I still really enjoy how it came out. And I also realized that after watching my other episode, my second episode where I rated the pages for the first time, I realized, man, these ratings are way too good. Like, looking back, I would have given it a way worse rating. But yeah, moving on. The second page that we've done, or the third, I guess, the conversation page. As you can see, after I closed the book overnight, it actually stuck together and now it's ripped. So this is a solid 2 out of 10 page. I just really dislike what I've done. Actually, maybe let's give it a 4, just because I like the scenario and the alcohol markers were nice to work with. That's about it though. And the third page, create an array of media. Honestly, let's give this page a 10 out of 10 because I enjoyed making it. I love how it came out. It didn't bleed through. Well, the black from the other page didn't bleed through. It just, this page, chef's kiss. I really liked it. But yeah, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day, and I see you in the next one. Goodbye!